Harry Lyles Jr., Israel Gutierrez, Pablo Torre, and in her Around the Horn debut, Christine Williamson. Welcome. Huzzah! Today, that look from Brian Daboll, and that look away from Daniel Jones, and the flick of the wrist. Let's go around the horn. Well. Christine Williamson and Harry Lyles Jr. The rivalry continues from countdown to game day to the Horn. Christine Williamson comes to us from Countdown to Game Day and Hoop Streams and SC on Snap. All things college football, WNBA, and NBA. Previously Big 12 Network and host and reporter for the Denver Broncos. She's Tampa Rays and the U and Clemson Forge. Christine, you've got 7 seconds. Tell us your life story. Start at the beginning, leave nothing out.
Yeah, I mean, you just said it. I went to the University of Miami for undergrad. I went to Clemson University for grad school, which confuses a lot of people. I go Canes first, Clemson second, but I do talk about both of those teams a lot, so that's pretty much
Okay, it sounds complicated. You know how this show works, Christine? This is how this show works. Your first mute. Welcome. Let's go around the horn. We start with Monday Night Football. When you throw a pick so bad, your coach just wants to look at you. And then Daboll flicked the tablet. What was that between coach and quarterback? And what a disaster class of a start of a season for these New York Giants. A playoff team last year, a coach of the year last year, a huge new deal for the quarterback this offseason, and now negative offense this season. Seahawks 24, Giants 3. Christine, around the horn to you right out of the gate. What is the malfunction with this Giants team? How bad was that exchange between coach and quarterback?
The Daboll interaction with Daniel Jones wasn't as bad as the Daboll interaction last year with Jack Anderson. So I actually don't think it was that bad. You'll remember that happened last season with Daboll on the sideline, Jack Anderson. They were playing the Titans, and he went off on him. So it doesn't look that bad. And I feel like Coach Daboll in this moment are just all New York Giant fans in general and all New York sports fans, because a reminder for all you New York sports fans, obviously the Mets and the Yankees aren't in the playoffs. You have the Jets, and we saw how that season started.
Okay.
And then the Giants on October 8th are going to be going down to Miami. That game starts at 1 p.m. Eastern, so when it starts going downhill, just go on and pick up your remote, change to ABC. You can actually change it to 2:30.
For the Liberty. Oh, I see where you're going here. Yes.
Are going to be playing the Las Vegas Aces in the WNBA Finals. And I feel like the season is over, so you just might have
Wow, that's
a better
it.
chance.
That's all you need. The season over for these Giants. Pablo Torre, I turn to you on the major malfunction and that exchange that you saw between coach and quarterback.
Yeah, Tony, I've had that exchange with my 3-year-old when we were potty training. I know those vibes there. I'm very, very disappointed that we've gone over this before. And yes, that's me throwing the sticker book saying, you were going to get a sticker. Instead, you threw another interception. More interceptions through these many games, and you threw all of last season combined. And so for Brian Daboll, when he was asked in the press conference afterwards, what did you want to see differently? He was like, I don't know, maybe not throw an interception. That's the quote to me. Yes, this is a man who is an offensive genius, allegedly, who is being made to look like a fool by his star pupil. And that, Tony, does put the Giants season in a figurative toilet. Correct.
Okay. Israel Gutierrez, this team made the playoffs last year. They paid Daniel Jones $160 million. What is the malfunction?
I mean, that was like the house of cards that the expectations were built on because, they won the playoff game against the Vikings. They were one of the last 8 teams standing. But if you zoom out and just look at the last 14 regular season games, their wins have come against the Cardinals, the Colts, the Commanders, and the Texans. And then they had a tie against the Commanders in that mix. And so if you the touchdown drives were a 2-play drive from Seattle after a Daniel Jones fumble. They had the one long drive Seattle did, but that was a 51-yard play from Noah Fant involved there. And then after that, when you think you're in the game, 14-3, a score, you're back within one score, boom, a 97-yard interception returned for a touchdown. So the defense has to be looking at themselves saying, it's not on me. Daniel Jones has to do something. And with Saquon Barkley not there, Daniel Jones is also the running game. And even more embarrassing than that pick six, the very next drive, they went 2 yards in 9 plays. They're a disaster from top to bottom right now, but I say if you want to pinpoint it, I'd say it's the offense and Daniel Jones.
And Harry Lyles Jr.
Yeah, it's definitely the offense, and for me, it's a mix of Daniel Jones, but it's also this offensive line. I feel like people really root for Daniel Jones to be better than what he actually is for some reason or another. The frustration with Brian Daboll comes in the fact that his calling card, both as a coach and as a coordinator, has been, I am going to put my players in the best position to be successful, and we are going to limit mistakes. And there was no escaping that last night. That offensive line was so bad that everybody watching the game could recognize bad offensive line play. Do you know how bad you have to be for everybody watching the game to realize this offensive line is probably not very good? Like, we even got to a point where Joe Buck was basically calling out numbers like we were in a deli line for people getting sacks. He was like, oh, who's that 53? Boye Mafe, come on down. Come get your serving. Because everybody was able to get through that line. It was absolutely atrocious. And if you're the Giants, how do you go about fixing that? Because I don't think that that's something that you just snap your fingers and fix.
A regression to the mean then for what we saw was a playoff team last year and for the quarterback simultaneously. And then you don't even have Saquon Barkley in a game like last night. And you could see how much they need him. We've been horned. There's another play from last night I want to talk about, Geno Smith's injury and the play that cost it. Smith, after the game, said it was dirty. He said it many, many times. You'll notice it's on the white. That's the first thing you notice. But also, Smith was straight up, no slide. Isaiah Simmons started the tackle on the field, high, pulled down to Smith's lower body, which was pinned under. Sometimes that is called something like a horse collar. It wasn't exactly per se, but it kind of had the same effect. Harry, is that a dirty play?
I don't really feel like it was a dirty play, but I get where Geno Smith is coming from. Obviously, it's close-ish to a horse collar. I think the reason Geno felt as strongly as he did is because I think that he could feel in real time and afterward that he got close to a very serious injury. Obviously, the rules are in place to prevent something like that from happening, but I don't think it was that atrocious of a play. You obviously want to prevent that, but I didn't think it was some type of extreme move by Isaiah Simmons by any means.
Pablo Torre?
Yeah, I want to defend Isaiah Simmons here as much as Geno Smith probably felt like both of his legs were in jeopardy. Understandable given that video. What is Isaiah Simmons supposed to do? Geno Smith is not, sliding. He is actively in the field of play. Isaiah Simmons is moving at full speed. He cannot predict where Geno Smith's going to go. It is one of those plays that I just chalk up to football. Like, that is a football play. It's violent, it's dangerous, and I don't think you can legislate that specific kind of thing out of the game.
Thanks for your thoughts on that. A headline today that just jumps off the page for you. Take a look at this. The road to the Super Bowl runs through the 49ers. Who said it? Who? Jerry Jones. Well, it says Jerry Jones right there, National Panel, please. Jerry Jones on his radio interview today on 105.3 The Fan. You can read his full quote underneath it. Israel, is he right? Does the Super Bowl run through San Francisco?
I would say for the NFC, yes, the Super Bowl does run through San Francisco. It's hard to argue, scoring 30 points in every game so far. They're so good they have a running back in the MVP discussion. I think that tells you what you need to know. Brock Purdy, top of the league in QBR. I do think, though, if you're talking about favorites for win the Super Bowl, no, I don't think you can say that yet. I mean, we're still at the point of the season where it's who have they really played, and the San Francisco 49ers are kind of in that mix of who have they really played. And I would say on the other side, you've got the Buffalo Bills really making a case for best team in the league right now. So not Super Bowl favorites, but for the NFC, absolutely. If I'm Dallas, I'm looking to have to go through.
Harry Lyles Jr.
Izzy mentioned the team that I was going to bring up as the best team in the NFL right now, and it's the Buffalo Bills. And I promise that this is not a prisoner of the moment thing from Sunday's result. To me, this is because of something we talked about a few weeks ago on the show. The Bills are doing the two things that have kept them from being a Super Bowl contender, the one that we know that they can be, which is Josh Allen not turning the football over after that atrocious Monday Night Football game. 8 touchdowns, just 1 interception, no fumbles. That's the big one. And they're running the football. 8th best total in the NFL. James Cook, 7th overall individually in rushing. And then, of course, they're still doing all the things that they've been great at over the last few years. They're second in points scored offensively. They are second in points allowed defensively on the good end of that. So
the Bills atop
Bills.
the Lyles power rankings. And all Bills fans out there are like, prisoner of the moment. Imprison me in that moment if that's where we're going. 48-20 over Miami. It's the win of the year so far. Christine Williamson, who's atop the Williamson power rankings?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 49ers here. And I am obsessed with Brock Purdy. When I get obsessed with a player, I do kind of go with the team. I don't have an NFL team, but I do think that there were so many questions going into this NFL season regarding whether or not Brock Purdy was going to be able to do what he did last season. Yeah. He took his team to the NFC Championship, and he had the UCL injury, and a lot of people were wondering whether or not he was going to be able to bounce back for that after getting surgery during the offseason. And he's not only done that, he's actually looks better than he did last season. He just had a 95.2% completion percentage against the Arizona Cardinals. That's the best in franchise history, and it's the fourth best in NFL history. He's doing things that we haven't seen a quarterback in that jersey do before, and I think that Brock Purdy, he's a bucket.
Mm-hmm. And Pablo Torre, you heard Jerry Jones today said the Super Bowl runs through San Francisco. Are you buying it, or you think Jerry's up to something?
He's up to some stuff, man. I like the Eagles. I guess I get to pick the team that was in the Super Bowl, I guess. The team with a quarterback whose butt literally will not quit. They have an unstoppable play at the goal line. Everybody tries to imitate it. No one can do it. Give me the team with the unstoppable butt. That's a general principle I have. Secondly, though, Harry Lyles made a great analytic case for the Buffalo Bills. He left out one key detail, though, about that Monday Night Football loss. It was against the Jets without Aaron Rodgers. Like, that is my analytics. He lost to the Jets without Aaron Rodgers.
They'll have to play the Jets again, but it's possible they won't match up with the Jets in the playoffs. Yeah. So I hear what you're saying here. All right, Lyles Jr. 12, Gutierrez 14, Torre 16, Williamson 14. Take a break right here. Buy or sell next.
Welcome back to Around the Horn, brought to you by Chase. Coming to you from the Seaport District at Pier 17.
Jimmy Butler's new look. Ball out boy, Jasmine L. Watkins, points to you. The face on Bam Adebayo when he saw it was priceless. And this is how we get into NBA Media Day. It was NBA Media Day yesterday for everybody except James Harden, who no-showed. Today, expected to report, to camp. LeBron said the Lakers are now Anthony Davis's team. Kawhi said he wouldn't be caring too much about the new counter-load management rules. Kyle Lowry says the same for the new flop rules because he doesn't flop. Dame Cheese, Chris Paul dribbled. Ayton told us people call him dominating. All while the defending champs say they look to repeat. Nikola Jokic doesn't know who Deion Sanders is. Harry, what do you buy from Media Day?
I mean, obviously, I've got to buy Jimmy Butler's new annual tradition of just deciding he's going to show up looking like a totally different person every year. Last year was the dreadlocks, this year was the perm. But for me, the other thing that really stood out that was not as obvious was Kawhi Leonard not taking anybody's crap about the load management policy. He said, I'm going to play if I am healthy. And he just hasn't conformed to what everybody wants him to be, which is the founding father of load management, which he did when he was actually injured and not in the negative connotation, which people do it with players who are just...
But you're telling me, you say Kawhi's not conforming, and I say that Kawhi did not conform. That Kawhi, that's what he does. Israel Gutierrez, what are you buying from NBA Media Day?
If Kevin Blackistone is not emo Jimmy Butler for the Halloween episode, let's just cancel it altogether. Okay, but my favorite part of Media Day was the Chris Paul to the Warriors thing becoming a reality. Because I know we've had a lot of time to digest this, but when you actually see him in the uniform and you think to yourself, wow, is it possible that Chris Paul actually wins his ring the same way Kevin Durant did by joining Steph Curry and then maybe beating Kevin Durant along the way on the team that he just got traded from that previously gave him his best chance at winning a championship? I think having Chris Paul on this team gives this team a lot of sort of extra emphasis, extra oomph, and I think it's enough to probably get him there.
Pablo Torre.
It's definitely not the Sixers or James Harden for me. Why would I be concerned about that in any way? That seems totally stable. Fine by me. I will point out that Kyle Lowry, Tony, and Kawhi Leonard, these are rules that were both made in their image, and I mean that almost literally. They're basically wanted posters that say, if you see this man, do not officiate this man the way you have. And so if anyone should be wearing disguises, it is those two dudes this NBA season, and I think they're going to not like the results.
And Christine, what are you buying from NBA Media Day?
Okay, first I want to say, Izzy, you just gave me an idea to wear what to be for Halloween this year because I was wondering about that. Number two, I don't know how you guys don't think that James Harden is the biggest story coming out of Media Day. It was one of the biggest stories during the offseason. I personally am over the James Harden saga. I don't want to hear about it anymore. I feel like he's being overdramatic. There are way more things happening that are more important, especially in the Eastern Conference, the Bucks, the Celtics, than James Harden. And I feel like he's being so overdramatic. I am a person that loves the drama. However, he just needs to get traded to the Clippers or wherever he wants to be because I'm kind of over it.
Buy or sell to college. Top 25. 5 different teams got first place votes. Georgia holding on to number 1, but as narrow as it's been for them after squeaking by Auburn with a late touchdown Saturday. Christine, buy or sell Georgia showing signs of shakiness. And then who you buying as your number 1?
I'm obsessed with this college football season because there is way more parity than there has been in the last few years. Before Georgia football, it was Georgia and everybody else. They were basically immortal, especially on defense. I'm buying Texas football as being back. We saw them and what they were able to do against Alabama. I probably just jinxed them actually in that moment because that's exactly what happens. But obviously we saw what they did against Alabama. We were there for that game. And then also they've just been running through the Big 12 Conference. They just played Kansas this past weekend. They had over 650 yards. And so I feel like Texas could, in fact, be an actual contender when it comes to the CFP.
All right, so there it is. You're buying Texas then, maybe, as your possible number 1. I'm not sure we got the answer there. Harry Lyles Jr., to you, who is the number 1 in the Lyles ranking?
So first, I want to buy that the rankings are actually becoming more uniform with what we're seeing in college football this season, which is that we have a lot of good teams and not one great team just yet. However, I have a little twist for you. The team that I would take as my number 1 right now has not received a number 1 vote. The team that I am going to go with has the Heisman favorite right now, Michael Penix Jr., and that is Washington. They've been playing in the best conference. And
whoa, you have Washington as number 1 or Washington number 1 in the Harry Lyles rankings?
Number 1. Number 1. 100%. Yeah.
Right now, Israel Gutierrez and Pablo Torre are regretting being on a college football discussion with Harry Lyles and Christine Williamson. Go ahead, Israel. Is there anything left to pick up here?
Well, I'm going to echo the parity discussion. I think it's great. I think all top 4 teams have a case to be number 1. But I also think that if you go down to that Pac-12 trio near the end, where Washington, Oregon, and USC, they all have great cases to be in that top 4 as well. I think maybe FSU is probably a little overranked. That win against LSU probably not looking as good right now. But I think you've got probably 6 or 7 teams that could argue that they should be number 1, Washington among them.
But who is number 1? I need an answer. Make an answer, Pablo Torre.
Yeah, I'm going to take Georgia. I'm going to take the actual answer here. You guys are talking about, Texas is back. Washington. Watch out for Washington. I'm going to take the team that has been in the Final Four of this college football playoff for 3 of the last 6 years, Tony. And maybe I'm just an SEC exceptionalist. Maybe I believe in their propaganda. But I'm too old to assume that the SEC is not going to be a factor when it comes to this thing we're going to watch at the end of the year. Give me Georgia, the easy layup.
Ohio State. Christine, I got to put it to you right now. Who is the number 1? Are you going with Texas, or were you just making an argument with Georgia being number 1?
It's a fluid list.
Oh, fluid doesn't really help you on this show right now. The points are going off. Oh, no, what's going to happen here? All right, we'll stop right there. Israel Gutierrez.
Oh, come on.
Pablo Torre. I've been waiting for this showdown. Rivalry. Harry Lyles Jr., Christine Williamson. Next.
Sellers today.
Around the Horn is presented by Truly Hard Seltzer. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Panelists in their Around the Horn debut, 27 wins, 34 losses. That's the stats coming in. But Christine Williamson versus Harry Lyles Jr. This is a rivalry every day on Countdown to Game Day, and now we get into Showdown. Good luck. Showdown 1, Bill Belichick. The idea that he's on the hot seat. Something we talked about this offseason is that, again, after the worst loss of his career, Pro Football Talk, Bill Belichick's seat could get hotter. Boston Herald, Bill Belichick's fingerprints all over the latest blowout loss. Harry, do you believe the greatest coach of all time could be on the hot seat? And maybe more significantly, could Robert Kraft do something about it this season?
Tony, the idea of Bill Belichick being on a hot seat is absolutely wild to me. If that man has not built up enough goodwill to go out on his own terms, we are all in trouble.
Christine Williamson.
I feel like Bill Belichick is slowly going. I mean, this is obviously going downhill. It's not getting better. He's lost so many players. People asking whether or not he's able to get it done without Tom Brady. There's also a ton of other players that are missing on that roster.
But do you believe the ownership, Robert Kraft, could do something about it in the middle of a season?
I think they need to.
Wow. Your first show and you get a hot take like that. We'll move on. Showdown 2 while we wait for your picks to come in on the baseball playoffs. I want to talk to you about Joey Votto's season-ending, possibly career-ending ejection for arguing a ball. So the idea that Votto's very good MVP career could end with an ejection, does that make it better or worse, Christine?
I think it makes it better. My career in volleyball ended on a very bad game. It was so bad that I was laughing during the timeouts. This will allow him to actually remember the end of his career, because otherwise he would just play another baseball game.
Harry Lyles Jr.?
I mean, yeah, it's cool. The way that I would look at it is less about him getting ejected and more about he could say, hey, at least I was right when I went out my way out the door.
That's exactly right. That's a good point. Christine, would you be all right with your first show ending with a loss? I don't know. I put
It's
you
fine.
to...
It's Harry.
Christine,
It's
take
Harry.
the FaceTime. 30 seconds.
Okay, so since I did lose to Harry, I want to talk a little bit about something that happened this past weekend on our show, Countdown to College Game Day. We were at Duke University, and we had some fans that were there doing a dunk contest, and they dunked, this guy, his name was Cameron, I believe, dunked on the Blue Devil, and may or may not have hurt him. So I just want to send our condolences to you, and hopefully you are...
The Blue Devil? Yes, okay.
So the Blue Devil.
Christine, it's your first career win. Congratulations. Don't be a stranger here.